Understood.
Right. So always you must first seek to understand, listen, understand properly. That's called empathetic listening. And then you can seek to be understood. Then you must, after that, express yourself, right? Then the sixth habit is synergize. See, this is the action. Make a wave. When everybody works together, there is synergy and great things can be achieved. Okay? So synergize. Can you all do
And
that?
what is literal meaning of it?
Synergize is to work together and create more energy. Synergize is basically working in unison together towards a common goal. You can look at the dictionary meaning. I don't know the dictionary meaning. Synergy is basically when people work together and double energy is created because there's a feeling of working together. Right? When everybody learns these seven habits, no, automatically in a group of in a classroom or wherever it is, there will be synergy. And only when there is synergy, great things will happen, right? Like suppose it's a concert in your school. Then when everybody's ideas are put in and everybody is working together, all are doing what they are best at, there is synergy. Whereas one person says, my idea only everyone should do, then people, many are not interested. Some are forced to do something they don't want to do, then that synergy will not happen, right? So synergy is when everybody is able to put in and everybody is respected. All are considered to have some value. You don't look at anybody as being useless. You're able to see value in everyone. You see Krishna in everyone, right? So you're synergizing. So that is synergy. And the last habit is sharpen the saw. Do the action, sharpen the saw.
Sharpen the saw.
Yeah. So I want you to read more about these seven habits. And next Sunday, maybe you can share with me anything new that you found out about them. Okay. So that's really a beautiful thing to understand how Stephen Covey has developed these seven habits, which are very effective if you're able to follow them. So let me share the screen again and let's come quickly and finish this chapter about sacrifice. Okay, there are only 10 minutes left for the class today. Can you see my screen, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
So today you have learned seven habits. Try to think about them. Maybe you can keep on thinking about one habit every day, so that in 1 week you'll be able to practice them. And then again next week you repeat them, because you know that habits make the person. So first develop the habits. Okay. Now let me try and revise. You remember when I had told you that the answer to this question is: Krishna responsible for your situation? Is Krishna or God responsible for your situation? Can anybody
No.
tell me? No. Krishna has not responsible, right? So God is, same towards all. Krishna is totally impartial, but he will have a special favor to devotees. But that is because of the way they are, showering their love on Krishna. That Krishna is forced to come and respond to devotees, but he is actually uniform to all. So let's come back to chapter 4 of the Gita today. We already understood how Gita's education is eternal, and Krishna gives us a history of the Gita. He says that I first taught the Gita to the sun god, and Arjuna asked, "Are, how come you are, just in my around my age group? How come you were there when the sun god was, so many years ago? How did it happen?" Then he reveals the truth that he is God, and he knows everybody's past and all their lives. Like he is the supreme personality. And then again, he removes certain misconceptions related to caste system. He talks about removing reactions when he talks about karma, akarma, vikarma. And now let's quickly see about sacrifices, right? So in this section, which is 4.25 to 4.42, Krishna talks about what are the things that different people sacrifice and how we need a teacher to train us in sacrifice. So in the scriptures they talk about approaching a guru. What kind of a teacher you need to approach? So you'll be trained in sacrifice. Like I told you, you can't sit and read all the YouTube books and YouTube videos and read all the books and say, okay, now I'm a doctor. You need someone to train you. You need an institution to train you. So you need to understand sacrifice through gurus. They will be able to tell you because they have already understood or seen the truth. Then in these verses, you see a difference between caliber and character. So caliber is when you're using your talent to get material desires, whereas character is like Ranti Dev, right? Where you are ready to give everything for the benefit of the world. That is true character. And all of you agreed with me that you would rather want to be a person of character than someone who has only caliber, right? Of course, character will also have caliber in it. Okay, and we will see what is the topmost sacrifice. So caliber is mundane knowledge, only the worldly knowledge, things like what is taught in schools nowadays. They don't teach any spiritual knowledge or transcendental knowledge. They don't teach the value of sacrifice or how we should live. All this is not taught. Mundane knowledge just to earn money for you to eat, and have like just like animals be able to survive. How is character developed? That is why learning about sacrifice is important. Controlling of the senses is a form of sacrifice. Surrender to authority is a form of sacrifice where it's an intellectual activity. When you're being humble and you have a service attitude, you put love and devotion in what you do, that is also sacrifice. So sacrifice is actually, according to Gita, a very broad term. Okay, and the topmost sacrifice is when you do your duty towards your soul. You chant, you keep God in your mind, you read spiritual literatures like Gita and Bhagavatam, you practice self control. Now, according to ISKCON, there are four regulative principles of freedom or, for being a true bhakta. Four regulative principles are: don't have intoxicating things, don't gamble, no illicit sex, and the fourth one is, what is the fourth one? No gambling, no illicit sex, no non-vegetarian. That's the fourth one. Okay, that is no violence basically. Now let's look at these life-sustaining things. Now this spirituality is just as easily available to us as oxygen and water. Right? Those who are seeking this knowledge, they will get it, and you have to value them. Don't put them down as unimportant. You value just because you're getting it for free. It doesn't mean it's of no value. You have to understand how valuable it is. Okay. Now, so we have now let's see quickly the overview of this chapter. I have explained all the verses of 425 to 42 in brief to you. I'll just go through the summary quickly of those verses, but basically it teaches us these three things. It teaches us difference between caliber and character. It tells us that you need to look for a teacher to train you in sacrifice. And it teaches us what is the topmost sacrifice is when you sacrifice different things you will see in these verses for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or for the basically for the world. When you whatever you're doing for the pleasure of the world, which is needed, that is itself a topmost sacrifice, right? So everything related to your own duty. Children, how will you know what's your duty? Think about your role as suppose you're a boy, think about the role of as your son. If you're a girl, as a daughter. If you have a brother or sister, what is your duties as a role of a sister or the role of a brother? What is your duty as a role of a student in school? What is your duty to your school? Then go to the bigger world. What is your duty to the town in which you're living? What is your duty? Slowly you can expand your circle. What is your duty to the world with your talents? So you have to slowly expand and understand what is your role. And when you do things according to your role as needed, then you're performing sacrifice. And if you're doing it with no desire for result, right, with no sense of possession, then you are already doing sacrifice, right? And that is going to help the whole world. So let's quickly read the summary of all these verses before we will do the quiz. And the story, I don't think we have time. I think next week we'll start off with the story, okay? Because only 5 minutes are left. So,
yes, ma'am.
yeah, in verse 25, Krishna says that some yogis, they perfectly worship the demigods. The demigods are basically all the different gods, whom we approach for different things that we want in the material world, right? If we want to remove obstacles in something, we are going to do Ganesha. or if we want some, the power or strength, Hanuman, or, whatever different demigods that you're praying to. And we are performing different sacrifices. Many times the sacrifice is material, right? You will put, some people when they're doing yagya, they put food or they put things into the sacrifice. They give money to all those Brahmins there. So they give different material things for the purpose of getting something. That is also sacrifice. But that is more like a karmi, right? It is good deeds for getting something in return. Now, some unadulterated brahmacharis, means who are pure, sacrifice also their hearing process and senses. Into which fire? This fire here is not the real fire. It's the fire of mental control. Okay? Mental control. Those brahmacharis, they are putting all their sensual desires into that fire of mental control. That is also a sacrifice. So these are different forms of yagya or sacrifice. Some people, so that they want self-realization, they will control their mind and senses. So they give up, some of them think that I want to become God, and then they give up their identity only. They start saying that I am no one, I am God only. So then they are actually giving up their identity also. Some people give material things, they give things for charity or something, and some people give themselves. Some people control their mind and senses, their life, breath. So Krishna gives a lot, if you want to go in detail, you can see them, but these are different examples of sacrifice. Some people, they will follow strict vows, they will follow severe austerities, they will do yoga, where they have to do Ashtanga yoga, where they have to perform very difficult asanas. And all this does help them in getting transcendental knowledge eventually. Some others will even control their breath. They will even stop eating, right? So all these are different forms of sacrifice. All these performers who are doing different sacrifices, they get cleansed of the sinful reactions. So they are all their papas, which is pap, वो सब धुल जाते हैं. It all gets washed away because of the result of their sacrifices. And then in verse 31, Krishna is saying, "Oh, best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, you cannot live happily." So even those who don't believe in God, if they're doing something which is their duty without any desire for results, they're just doing it for others, or they get happiness from that, they are doing a sacrifice. So if they don't do that, that duty, they're not doing that sacrifice, they cannot be happy in this planet or in this life or even in the next life. So in verse 32, Krishna is saying that all these different sacrifices are approved in the Vedas, and they are born of different types of work. Knowing them, you will become liberated. Once you know that your work is sacrifice, you will be liberated. Then he says, he's calling Arjuna by different names. In 33, he says, "Oh, chastiser of the enemy." The sacrifice performed in knowledge. When you know, all these knowledge given in the Gita, when you perform your duty or your sacrifice, knowing that about the transcendental knowledge, then it is better than simply sacrificing your material possessions. And he says that, after all, O son of Pritha, all the sacrifices culminate in transcendental knowledge. So the transcendental knowledge has so many aspects which we have been learning so far, right? And here he says that to really understand sacrifice, it's good to approach a spiritual master. Okay, who is a spiritual master? A spiritual master is one who has seen the truth, who is self-realized, who doesn't want anything for himself, and he comes in spiritual parampara. Okay, so Krishna says that just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him, and try to get the knowledge about the truth. And when you obtain this real knowledge from a self-realized soul who is a guru, you will not again have any illusion. Okay, and the last few verses are in 36, 37, and 38. Krishna says that even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, if you are in the boat of transcendental knowledge, that means if you even try and understand and hold on to transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross the ocean of miseries, which is this world. Okay, that's why you must try to understand the Gita, the transcendental knowledge. Just as a fire will burn firewood to ashes, Arjuna, Krishna is telling Arjuna, "Oh Arjuna, Similarly, the fire of knowledge, with knowledge you can burn all the fruits, which are because of material activities, all that can get burned up and you can be free or get liberation. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. So these are verses. I've put the translation, so they're a little complex for you, but we just brush through. These are the last four verses. Krishna says that a man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge, you think about the knowledge you're gaining, and who subdues his senses, only he is eligible to achieve the knowledge and supreme spiritual peace. But one who is ignorant, who is faithless, if you doubt this truth given in scriptures, they will fall down, because somebody who is doubting all the time, he cannot be happy in this world or in the next world. So till you, as long as you're constantly doubting, you can't be at peace, right? So you won't be happy. One who acts in devotional service, text 41, he says, renouncing his actions, and whose doubts are destroyed because he is contemplating and understanding the knowledge of Gita, he is situated in his self and he is not bound by any reaction of work. And he says, "O conqueror of riches," to Arjuna. In the last verse, Krishna says that any doubt that has come in your mind because of ignorance, you slash the doubt with the weapon of knowledge, and then you come on, stand up and fight, because you know that that is your duty. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay, so in the end of chapter 4, Krishna again tells Arjuna, come on! Now that you know what is the truth, you got the transcendental knowledge. Stand up and fight. Okay, and let's see next what Arjuna will do in chapter 5. What is the dialogue going to happen? Okay, does he stand up and fight, or what happens next? Let's see. Okay, so on Sunday, let's meet and find out what is going to happen. 11:1, and let's all say Hare Krishna together before we end the class. Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare. Okay. Any doubts? Anybody wants to ask something? Yes, Ritika.
But I have just one doubt, like as you said that we can remove our sinful acts by doing sacrifices. So why many people in India still do believe that by dipping themselves in Ganges river, so like their all the sins will be washed away?
Yeah, so there are many things like that, Ritika. They say if you will pray to Tulsi Devi, or if you dip in Ganga, or if you eat prasadam of some specific place, all your sins will get washed away. Now, I will not say that that is not true, okay, because those are also given in scriptures, Ritika. The very fact that those people are able to go, God has created circumstance for them to go and reach there and dip themselves in the Ganga, is all fine. But about the purity of mind, they forget, right? Their sins, even if their sins are destroyed, immediately you're going to start, the same nature, because you're going to act according to your gunas and according to your karmas. The action which you're going to do is again going to put you back into a circle of birth and death. So unless you purify your mind truly with transcendental knowledge, you are not going to be completely free, right? So Ritika, in India, these beliefs that they have are actually just directing people to gain transcendental knowledge, and they do these different actions, which are religious. For example, doing puja, put some flowers to God every day, or go and bathe in the Ganga. Those very actions actually are purifying you. So you cannot say that they are what the scriptures say are wrong. But at the same time, as you learn, more and more you understand Gita, you know that purifying the mind is what is more important than simply purifying your past actions, or so far you just bathe in the Ganga. It doesn't get over with that, because your tendencies are still alive. Your tendency to do the wrong things have not gone. Okay, am I clear, Ritika?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that they're wrong when they say that bathing in Ganga or worshipping Tulsi Mata or just circumambulating Tulsi Mata will remove your sins. That is right, but then more important is for you to work on, for everyone to work on their tendencies and to use the higher taste so that they can give up all their attachments and desires and truly achieve the ultimate goal of human life, right? Okay, Ritik, I hope I've answered you. Um, Arav, Niranjana, Maithili, Anushka, Arya, any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So
No,
chapter,
ma'am.
all right, Arav, try to read chapters 1 to 4 because we'll begin chapter 5 next class. Okay. And Krishna's story is actually Krishna, is transcendental. He's not material. And I want you to try and read Krishna's stories wherever you can and also try to read chapter 1 to 4. I'll put the link of the quiz now in the group. Let me put the link for today's quiz and take care, everyone. See you next Sunday. Bye. I'm putting it in the chat. I'll also put it in the WhatsApp group. Okay, go and please click on this link and answer the quiz. Okay, all of you click on this link and answer the quiz, children.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Last class, only 2 of you answered the quizzes. So I'm putting the last class link also. Please, those who did not answer last class quiz, also please answer that. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, ma'am.
Hare Krishna, ma'am.
Bye. See you next Sunday. Be with me next Sunday.
Bye,
Bye,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Bye.